All right, number 5, we have the cube root of negative 250. And remember, we can take cube roots of negative numbers, but you need to include that in your perfect cube side. So your negative is going to go over there with your perfect cubes. So what is the largest perfect cube that goes into 250? It's 125 and 2. Negative 125 times 2 is negative 250. What is the cube root of negative 125? Negative 5. And we're left with cube root of 2. Number 6, we have 6 times cube roots. Is there a perfect cube that goes into negative 2? Really just one, but because that's negative, I'm going to make this a negative 1. If the question really started with a positive 2 under here, there wouldn't be anything else for you to do. That would be like a fully simplified question. But that negative gives us something to do. What is the cube root of negative 1? Negative 1. So your final answer is negative 6 cube root of 2. So basically, when you have a negative number under a cube root, that just comes out. All right, number 7. Now we're doing fourth roots. So you're looking at these numbers over here. What is the largest perfect fourth that goes into 162? 81 times what? 2. So this one is my perfect fourth. What is the fourth root of 81? 3. And then we have the fourth root of 2. Do I need plus or minus?
Yes.
Yes, because we have an even index. And then number 8, this is 5 times fourth root, fourth root. What is the largest perfect fourth that goes into 2,592? It is 1296 times 2 gives me 2,592. So this is my perfect one. What is the fourth root of 1296? 6. So my answer is plus or minus 30, fourth root of 2. Any questions so far before we start throwing in variables? So we've kind of talked about this in the quadratics unit, but when we are doing square roots, the exponents need to be multiples of what? 2. Cube roots. Your exponents need to be multiples of 3. So what do you think exponents should be multiples of if it's a fourth root? 4. Good. So gotta keep that in mind. So we're doing the square root of 32x to the 4th, y to the 9th. So go ahead and split your root up. What is the largest perfect square that goes into 32? 16 times what? 2. Then look at your next variable. Is x to the 4th a perfect square? Yes, so that entire thing can stay over here because we're going to keep one side of all perfect squares, and then the other root over here is just going to be your leftover stuff. Y to the 9th, is that a perfect square? Is your exponent a multiple of 2? No, so it's actually not. Now 9 is a perfect square. That's where you kind of get confused. But remember, if it's an exponent, it needs to be a multiple of 2. That's all. So if I want to take one or more y's out, how many should I take out to have a perfect square? 1. If I take out a y, I'm left with y to the 8th. And now it's a multiple of 2. So this side, those are my perfect squares. What's the square root of 16? Square root of x to the 4th. Square root of y to the 8th. Y to the 4th. Remember, we're dividing by 2. And then we have the square root of 2y left over. Here's where especially you need to be careful. You don't want this to look like 4x squared y and then the 4th root of 2y. So be really careful with your exponents and your roots. Maybe make a little extra space there so they're definitely apart from each other. But really pay attention to your handwriting here because you don't want to miss questions because you got sloppy. All right, number 10. Got square roots. Is 324 a perfect square? It actually is. So if your number that you're starting with is a perfect square, go ahead and put the whole thing over here. You don't need to split it up. Is x cubed a perfect square? No. So how many x's do I need to put over here? 1x. And that leaves me with x squared. What about the y's? Not perfect, so how many y's do I need to move out? Move out a y, leaving with y to the 6th. All right. These guys are perfect. What is the square root of 324? 18. Square root of x squared? X. Square root of y to the 6th? And then my square root of xy is left over. Number 11. Now I'm working with cube roots. Is 56 a perfect cube? No. What's the largest perfect cube that goes into 56? 8. 8 times what? 7. Is x to the 8th a perfect cube? What does it need to be a multiple of? 3. Is 8 a multiple of 3? No. So how many x's do I need to move out to get a multiple of 3? 2 of them. So I'm going to move out x squared, leaving me with x to the 6th. You want to move out only as few as you can. What about y's? How many do I need to move out? 1 of them, leaving me with y to the 3rd. So what's the cube root of 8? 2. Cube root of x to the 6th? X squared. Remember, we're dividing by 3 because it's a cube root. And the cube root of y cubed is y. Got my cube root of 7x squared y left. Be careful. You don't want this to look like y cubed and then a square root. Maybe even put a multiplication symbol sign between there. That might help. And number 12, last one, we're doing 4th roots. What's the largest perfect 4th that goes into 48? 16 times what? 3. Is x to the 8th a perfect 4th? Yep, 8's a multiple of 4. So the entire x to the 8th stays over here. Don't need to move any out. Is y to the 3rd power a perfect 4th? No. Can you take any y's out and have a perfect 4th? No. So they're all extras. So the entire y cubed goes to my extras side. So this gives me 2x squared. And then I've got the 4th root of 3y cubed left over. Do I need plus or minus? Yes, because we have an even index. Any questions?